Silent Hill 2 is the best psychological horror game ever made, and I know a lot of survival horror fans share that opinion with me. Whenever the argument comes up if video games can be considered art, Silent Hill 2 is always the answer I would give in favor. The uncanny dreamy atmosphere, the music, the sound design, the amazing story with so many symbolic layers underneath. It all comes together to create a truly special experience. So when Konami announced last year that this extremely iconic video game was getting a full-blown remake alongside a franchise revival, it left the community, including myself, both excited and simultaneously also extremely worried. And that cynicism and worry within the Silent Hill community is very visible. So visible in fact that many would consider the Silent Hill community to be toxic and ungrateful because of it. Especially when you consider the behavior of the neighboring Resident Evil community, which is more positive towards new installments in every way. But no, I don't consider myself or other Silent Hill fans to be toxic for being critical and bitter towards this and other future projects. There is a reason why so many, including me, are worried. And to understand that worry, we must first go back to the beginning. You see, Silent Hill isn't just another horror franchise returning. This one is an absolute cult classic, and for good reason. It's one of the best, and perhaps the best, horror franchise within the psychological genre. The original Team Silent games also still hold up incredibly well today. I played Silent Hill 3 on an emulator not too long ago, and the exploration-based puzzle solving, in combination with the unmatched horror atmosphere, still hit incredibly hard today. It's as fun and scary as ever, and the cutscenes are insane for it to be a PS2 game. But while the originals are legendary, everything that came after was either generic or just straight up bad. What was once a franchise with a creative and unique spin on horror became another generic Western horror game series. Which would be fine if it started out as that. But the difference here is that we know and we have seen that it can be so much better than this. So that makes the fanbase protective. We want to play something as good as those original games, as creative as those original games. So in 2014, after 10 years of nothing but mediocrity, there was hope on the horizon. Konami released the playable teaser PT, which turned out to be a teaser for a new Silent Hill game developed by Hideo Kojima in collaboration with Guillermo del Toro. There were even rumors of horror legend Junji Ito himself being involved. So you can understand how over the moon I was. The teaser was again like the originals, a fresh take on psychological horror. It was creative and most importantly, really scary. So there it was, right before our noses. Hope again for the legendary franchise to be restored to its former glory. But right as we were about to receive what we were looking for all this time, it was all taken away again. The game was cancelled, and the fanbase was left with nothing for another 8 years. All this summed up together with an incredibly bad reputation Konami developed after the entire Hideo Kojima fiasco left the Silent Hill fanbase extremely cynical and protective of the franchise. Rightfully so in my opinion. That leaves us back where we are today. Konami revived the Silent Hill franchise with several new projects, including the Silent Hill 2 remake. Now alongside the already cynical outlook because of Konami's poor handling of the franchise came some other worrying prospects, one of them being the remake's developer, Bloober Team. Bloober Team doesn't exactly have the best reputation within the horror game community, and I can definitely see why. I think their games are also extremely mid. Layers of Fear was just a walking sim without the creativity of PT. How they even got caught in 4K stealing stuff directly from PT. Blair Witch was also extremely bland with a typical PTSD trauma story we have already seen a million times. And then there was The Medium. The game that was very annoying for me to play through, because the protagonist just kept talking to herself constantly, taking away all tension in the game.
Hello? Anyone? It's just a good old-fashioned haunted hotel. It's like taking a plunge into nothingness. Stay under for too long and it just pulls you in. So let this work. Yes! Yes! You made it, Marianne.
I can understand all the criticism Bloober faces about these games. And I can also understand why seeing Bloober Team as Silent Hill 2 Remake's developer would make someone apprehensive, especially with the legendary status Silent Hill 2 has. But as one part of me is also worried and unhappy about this, another part of me remains hopeful. It's clear that all of Bloober's games, despite being pretty mediocre, all took inspiration from this franchise, and that there's a clear love for Silent Hill within the team. So for all we know, this could be Bloober's first real banger of a horror game. But this is just a really hard game to get right. The subtle horror that slowly gets under your skin is perhaps what carries the original Silent Hill 2 the most. And if they aren't able to keep that subtle horror, and things get too on the nose, it just won't hit the same. But that's not the only recent development that makes people worried. Then came the next thing, Silent Hill Ascension. Their first release within the Silent Hill revival turned out to be a real stinker of a project. What a way to get the community more positive. Like, seriously, who is this for? A mobile product, a cliche story, player unfriendly monetization. Like, these are all things they know the Silent Hill fandom wouldn't like. Like, come on. How would a fanbase that enjoys psychological horror games ever enjoy this? Who is this for? To me, it's another prime example of hijacking an IP just for the sake of money, since creating an original IP for their little web experiment just wouldn't sell enough. If you use an existing IP, you are expected to make a product for the fandom of that IP. How hard is it to understand that? It's just another reason to continue to be worried about the future of Silent Hill, and the remake in particular. And the memes born from this fiasco are a prime example of how this leaves people even more worried about how Konami's greed could ruin this classic of a game as well. So yes, I'm worried about Silent Hill 2. And that's okay, because there are many reasons to be worried. Silent Hill is my favorite horror franchise, and there's not a single game franchise which I'm more opinionated about. But I'm just tired of caring so much. There's no reason to do so after so many disappointments. You know, I hope the game turns out to be good. But for now, I'm just tired of caring. I'll judge it when it comes out. Instead, I'll just continue to play Alan Wake 2. And yes, I'll definitely hijack the ending of this video to spread the good message, because I think every Silent Hill fan should check it out as well, because it's seriously an incredible game. It's the best, most creative psychological horror game to come out in years, and I'm loving it. It's everything a modern psychological horror game should be. The meta-narrative is extremely creative. Remedy's touch being the inclusion of live-action segments make the game feel even more strange and surreal. The story is engaging and makes me want to learn more and solve the mystery. The detective gameplay is fun, the exploration is really well done, the atmosphere is amazing, the gameplay is good enough for the type of game that it is. In short, it's everything I want out of a horror game. So in the end, if Silent Hill 2 turns out to be bad, well hey, at least I'll have experienced this instead.